So let's go ahead and take a look at this from a little bit different perspective. And this perspective is going to be um, a little bit more interesting. It's going to be a little bit different scenario that the while loop doesn't really handle, but we can handle with a little bit of a different variation on the while loop. So first, let's type in int, and we'll call this input, and we'll set that equal to 0. And what we want to do is we want to do this comparison every time the user inputs a number. So because of the nature of this, the user is going to have to input something at least one time. So because there's that kind of caveat there going on that the user has to input something one time, we can, instead of just using a while loop where we'd evaluate the condition before it actually executed the code in the curly braces of the loop, we can do this thing called the do while loop. So do and while, so afterwards we put the condition. So it's just like the while loop, except for the while comes at the end and there's do before the curly braces. And the difference logically is that it's actually going to execute everything at least one time before it exits, and it's going to evaluate that condition after it's executed the code here the first time. So to keep it simple, let's just ask what is the sum of 5 plus 7? And let's go ahead and end L there. And so what we want is we want to get an input from the user here, and we're going to test whether that is equal to 5 plus 7, which is 12. So while input not equal to 12, we want to run through this code. So let's go ahead and build and run this. So it's asking what is the sum of 5 plus 7. So if we enter a value that is not 12, you'll see it just outputs again, what is the sum of 5 plus 7. So it's like interrogating you for this answer. Let's type 3, 15, and until you enter what that final value is that you're actually looking for, which is 12, so as long as it's not equal to 12, it's going to keep going. But as soon as that value hits 12, you see that it exits successfully. So that's kind of just a little bit of a crash course in what the while loop, the do while loop looks like. Let's go ahead and look at a little bit more complicated use case. Let's say we were doing another calculator type thing. I love using the calculator examples for this. So int number 1 and set that equal to 0, and we'll do int number 2, set that equal to 0, and what we're going to say is what do, and we're gonna say cout enter a number, and we'll just be calculating the sum for these for the purpose of this, and we're going to say number 1 while number 1 is less than 0, or number 1 is greater than 100. And this is a little bit new syntax that I'm introducing you to. So essentially what we're saying here, if the number is less than 0 or the number is greater than 100, we want to keep going. So we want a number that is between 0 and 100 for the input. So we have that first number. So let's go ahead and we're just going to copy and paste this code down. And so we'll get this here. And instead of getting a number 1 here, of course, we want to switch this over to number 2, and then number 2. And so at the very end of this, let's go ahead and let's print out the sum of n1 and n2 is number 1 plus number 2, and we'll end the line on that just for style purposes. And so now if we run this, and as long as it doesn't give me any errors, so build and run, no errors. So we're going to enter a number, and as long as this number is not between 0 and 100, it's going to keep asking for that. So let's try -1. -1 doesn't work, 101 doesn't work, but if we enter 100, it's less than 0. Oh, it's looped over. Shouldn't have made the message the same thing. So we have number 1 now entered because of the first one. And now if we hit like 89 for the second one, we're in the second do while loop now, we'll get the second value. So the sum of 189 is of course 189. So that's just a little crash course in the do while loop. If there's any questions, feel free to comment, and please subscribe.